Alright, this is going to be a video on the compass test, or the second part of it. Hopefully I can get through this one and be done. Not anything against you people, but to tell you a little, it shouldn't be a secret. Every 20 minutes, basically what I'll do is I'll go get a drink of liquor. Um, I don't know why. Anyways, let's do this. So I kind of wanted to just fucking pass out here, but let's finish this. People were ultimately divided more by class than by nationality. I saw that kind of a while ago, and I actually had a little bit of time to think about that one. I think they should be divided more by class than nationality, but I think as we know in this world, things are not always as they should be, and in many cases, people are more divided by race, gender, nations, and even, well, I don't know, it's pretty hard to be more crazy than gender, but religion. They constantly divide themselves by different very trivial things, hence with the support and the help of the wealthy overclass and the media that they support, and that is, of course, one of the reasons why the classes stay as they are, or that is to say, the poor stay poor and the rich stay rich. They divide you by race, they divide you by gender. They do this from birth. So I would like to say, actually, circumcision has something to do with that, but in this country, they just do it for no reason. So I don't even know. That's crazy too. Anyways, although you do only do it with males, but still, you're not really needing to divide that up anymore. I think it's pretty obvious who's who. But nevertheless, getting on with this. It was kind of a weird derailing of this, but let's get on with this. I agree that you are, but I'm not going to say strongly agree, because I kind of think that most people would rather divide themselves by nationality, although they shouldn't, but they probably would. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. Inflation. I know what inflation is, but I don't want to get anything confused here, so I'm going to look it up. Inflation. Shit. Damn thing. Economics. This is going well. You know what? I mean, look, we spend trillions of dollars on the damn military. Since Trump took office, he has increased the amount of money we have spent on the military by trillions of dollars. Now, I don't want to see prices go up on anything, but I'm telling you, if you were to take and cut the military budget, or decrease that by a certain amount, and then cipher that off or redistribute it to the lower classes, you could probably come up with more than enough in the social safety net to give people enough money and things like universal basic income, and those stimulus checks that we still aren't getting. The Pelosi is probably as much, if not more, involved in stopping or preventing from happening than Trump is. And if you look at things like food stamps and other things, if you take the military budget and you redistribute it to helping the lower class and the poor, and hopefully one day rebuilding a middle class that maybe can do much of this for themselves, but right now helping the poor, then you have more than enough to pay for those prices. So I think controlling unemployment is, well, then again, inflation. No, you know what? Because you're spending. I'm not good on this one, so I don't know what the fuck I'm talking. I'm going to say disagree. I think that if you're unemployed, you can afford it. If you raise prices, then it's inflation. I don't know. if you look at a lot of your jobs, they don't pay enough to pay for that. So I'm not good on that one. So I probably fucked this one up, but I'm gonna say no. And again, that is, and I fucked this up just so you know, because I'm not perfect and I don't claim to be a genius. I'm just giving my opinion. Um, Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. I disagree. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they're required. I strongly agree. The corporations need to be regulated to protect the environment. If you look at Tyson Chicken, there's some documentary, I forget if it was called Food Inc. or it was called something, but it was a documentary on Tyson Chicken and some other chicken or fat slaughter company or something. And it was all about their incredibly unregulated practices. And I was going to get to the dumping of chicken guts into the rivers in 1 minute, but they also were hiring illegal labor. But here's what they were doing. Here's the thing. Not only were they screwing possibly American workers and not obeying the actual laws that we have that everyone else has to obey, they weren't only doing that, they were screwing over the immigrants because they would hire them. And I think it was like every so often, and I forget how many months, but they would have to turn over. ICE worked this out with them. ICE, again, basically an illegal institution put into place by George W. Bush. Not the legitimate border services, ICE. They would turn over 100 illegal immigrants over to border services every so many months. So basically, they would work them and then deport them. And this was bullshit, and they were screwing the American workers out. And as soon as they did that, what they would do is they would bring in more immigrants and then do the same thing to those people to replace the 100 that they got rid of. So they were screwing the American workers by not hiring them, and then screwing these workers by probably underpaying them. You almost know they're underpaying them to begin with. And then not only deporting them, you have to wonder, did they give them their last month's pay? Probably not. So they're being, and how many months did they not cop out on not paying them? How many months did these rich bastards not pay these immigrants when they were working for them while they were working there because they couldn't complain because they were illegal? And then they would deport them. And the other thing that they were doing, to whoever left, the other thing they were doing is they were not deporting, but dumping chicken guts into rivers and other rivers and whatever, I can't say the word, basically dumping chicken guts into the water supply that people were using and polluting the water. And this goes back to cattle. You also have cattle slaughterhouses also, obviously, that are, of course, overpopulating with all these cattle that you can't kill and even eat as many as you can breed, as many as they kill. And it's not only incredibly inhumane to the animals to treat animals this way, treating them like wheat fields is mowing them down, but also creating so many that they're totally polluting the air with greenhouse gas, and whatever, and fucking everything up. And there's too damn many of them. And then you have all these damn fucking people being sustained on this, and you have overproduction of cows, more cows than you can even eat, and they're eating them and getting obese on them. And the argument is, well, that's not a good argument for veganism. And I used the humanitarian argument or the humanist argument that it's wrong to breed something else for your substance or to breed something else simply to live on. But with that being said, and to kill these animals, especially when you consider some of the living conditions they live in. But I would also say, even though some people, including Secular Talk, has said before that while he supports veganism, the actual environmental argument doesn't really stand up to task. I disagree because I don't know the exact effect that has on man-made global warming, and there is certainly a thing as man-made global warming, although there are other factors we are contributing to global warming. And the amount of cows we have and the amount of other livestock is not helping, and we're not helping. And of course, the cars and the coal and oil and everything else is contributing that too. There needs to be a depopulation of humans. There's too many of us. We need to stop having so many kids, and we also need to stop using fossil fuel and coal, and we need to try to create some kind of other energy of solar energy. And we need to stop eating so many animals and decrease the consumption of meat. And as a vegan, I would say we shouldn't eat any meat at all. I think it's wrong to eat animals. Now, I will say I cheat on that. I eat some to myself because it's like he said, I think Secular Talk said this about veganism. It's incredibly hard to, because it's, you know, you do it since birth. And I have went a while without eating it on multiple occasions and tried to get off it, but I would always go back. But it's hard to find a lot of food that isn't meat. Now, there are ways of making vegetarian meat substitutes that are made from vegetables, soybeans, and other content, and that's one way of doing it. But the point is, back to the point, what was even the question? I got right off track. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. I strongly agree. And they also abuse workers' rights, especially, including and especially illegal immigrants. So I do agree the corporations need to be regulated. From each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamentally good ideal. Disagree. Because who decides whose ability is to what, whose ability is what, and whose need is what? Who gets to decide that for who? I think everyone should be fed, clothed, housed, so forth. But this is how you fall into Soviet Union living conditions where certain people are not allowed to succeed up until a certain point, or they're not allowed to be given more than a certain amount. If you've ever seen Oliver Twist, can I please have some more? And, you know, they throw him down the stairs. Please, sir, can I have more, or whatever. When he's talking about his soup, or basically gruel or whatever, when he's living in the orphanage. So no, you don't have a right to decide that for someone else. And if you want to talk about who really has the most, that is the rich bankers, the robber barons, the industrialists, the corporate class. They have plenty in now political class, and a lot of your entertainers and celebrities who in many cases do corporate propaganda for them. And you have journalists and other people doing that. So those are the people that have more than enough. So if you want to take based on their abilities, or at least based on what they have, and give to others based on their needs. Again, I don't understand how you decide for someone else what their needs are, because you really don't know. And second of all, and a lot of people have mental illness, and people have all kinds of issues at this point, and you don't really know what their needs are. And second of all, and you're creating a subsistence basic living that I don't think is needed or necessary. And second of all, the rich people in this country are the ones with the most. Whether they have their abilities or not, I don't know, but they have the most. They have the most in substance and to give, to make them give the most. And we'll decide on an individual case by case basis what your needs are, but certainly not this motherfucking overlapping concept of this is all you need. You don't know. You don't know how much food or shelter or housing or help, mental help, physical help, other help someone else needs. You have no clue and no way of telling that, and you don't get to decide for other individuals based on that. So it's bullshit, and that's a trap, and it's a trick by the rich. And there's a lot of shit wrong with that. So I don't agree with that. And, you know, what I say, like that wrestler Ryback, you know, feed me more. Fuck that shit. So anyways, there's that. So I disagree. I don't strongly disagree, but I certainly disagree. The freer the market, the freer the people. I disagree. Certainly in terms of something like entertainment, say, for example, pornography, music, movies, art, video games, I support freeing that up. When it comes to, again, food, slaughterhouses, things such as this general market forces, I don't agree with, because you have environmental issues, you have issues of worker rights, workers being abused, you have issues of again, slaughterhouses and animal rights, workers' rights, the environment, and just other issues. And often what you end up with is what we have now. The rich, even during a pandemic, have gotten richer, with often and countless stimulus money from our corrupt political leaders taking money, and not only the conservative Republicans, who are at least a little bit more honest, the corporate neoliberal centrist Democrats who feed off this system and feed off the people, and they take from us, and they constantly are taking from us and giving to the upper class, and they're making money even during a pandemic with no desire to be able to be no incentive or no desire because they have no incentive to give back. No one's making them give back, and they've learned they can just work us and we're just take the shit. So as long as we are making a subsistence living, as some people currently are, in some cases being unable to stack refrigerators, while Nancy Pelosi, for example, talks about the ice cream she has and all the stuff she loves. And, that would be fine, except for the fact you're totally living off the people. You're supposed to be there to serve the people, to serve us, to help us. And it's the other way around. And you're making millions. And now you're trying to further interfere with the political process. You spend $1 trillion on our money looking for Russians. And it's an absolute fucking disgrace and a disaster. So again, what was the question? Bring me back around to this. No, the freer the market, the freer the people are not. When it's entertainment, when it's porn, when it's movies, when it's video games, Grand Theft Auto, I don't know, movie, blood-sucking pricks, Grand Theft Auto, WWF back during the late 90s, early 2000s, Attitude Era, music, grunge, Marilyn Manson, Eminem, gangster rap, any of that kind of market. It needs to be free, right, open, free the market. Let people hear what they want, say what they want, do what they want, think what they want on that level. The corporations should not be able to intrude upon and impede upon the right, impede upon the, whatever I'm saying, on the rights of the people. Absolutely not. That is a different story. That is wrong. I do not agree. So no, the freer the markets are not the freer the people, but I'm not going to strongly disagree because in some cases they are. It's a sad reflection of our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottle branded consumer product. I agree. I don't strongly agree because again, it is a capitalist society and I'm not totally against capitalism. And certain people like certain kinds of water. Some people like sparkling water. There's different water companies. They put a lot of work into making the water. If you take it from the direct source, in some cases it could be polluted, muddied, so forth. Not even just by corporations, but just by water. I mean, it's not always clean, and that's the way it is. But I do kind of agree because I do kind of think it's bullshit that it's not even water is free. I kind of agree with that. And you do have the argument of what's next. Are you going to tax our air? And then you have tricks in the some environmental groups where people claiming to be environmentalists there are not. And this is a thing, and it is out there where they want to tax the air. And that is absolute horseshit. And you can argue, well, that'll decrease the population because you can't have all these kids because you have to pay for their air. That's bullshit. That's not your right to do that. You're not God. They're here. They are who they are. Whether you like them or not, fuck you. You don't have a right to do that. But I do kind of agree, but I ultimately disagree. But ultimately, you have to sell shit. We sell shit. We're a market society. I understand that. I'm not totally against the markets. But we could be certainly a lot more socialist. As I have said so far, if you haven't already gathered this, I think we should be a lot more socialist about a lot more things. But I'm not totally against capitalism, free market capitalism. And ultimately, water is pretty cheap. But, if somebody can't afford water, they don't have the money, it should be given to them without question. I don't care who they are, where they are in the world, even other countries. We can scrape up enough money, I'm sure, especially on the middle class taxpayers, what's left of them. But the taxpayers in America, that is the freest, one of the most successful, richest countries in the world, one of the freest, and the rich people that don't pay enough taxes and should pay more, but even with what they're paying now, you could scrape up enough money to goddamn pay for some person, say in Africa, to have water and to give that water to them free of charge with no money, no cost, and a lot of other stuff. A lot of these people need to be given food, money, clothing, housing, more than what they are, including in America and in places like San Francisco, where you now have a homeless problem so bad that these fucking people are literally, you have a problem with homeless defecation on the side of the road because there's not enough outhouses or enough bathrooms to substantiate these people. When obviously a place like California, rich off Hollywood, rich off the global industrial market, rich off of the Silicon Valley and the technocratic elitists that would like to shut up people like me and shut up a lot of other independent free thinkers. Those people make more than enough money to house and clothe and feed and water homeless people. So that's absurd and crazy. And yeah, you can afford that, but I'm not totally against selling water to those who have the money to buy the shit. Maybe it should be like flavored or sparkling water or something, but you should certainly be able to sell it. I have no issue necessarily with that. So I agree, but barely. That it's a sad reflection of our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottle brand's consumer product. And now I'm going to take another break.